Okay, Jeff here. I did this video the other day in the same, not in the same place. I can't remember. Actually, it was probably in the car because it had been raining in the evenings, and I just did it, but the light wasn't bright enough, so I got to redo this again. So I'm sitting out here at McDonald's because it's kind of really. I didn't eat here at McDonald's. I just had a coffee, but I had lunch or dinner, and I had a coffee here until 11. And I came out and I decided to do some videos, but there's water all over the table, so I can't sit down, right? So, and I'm having problems with my computer and the buggy software for Camtasia, so I can't do this these videos. I can't create the videos with my software or the thing because it's just memory. I want to do these camera clips, right? They're easier to do and then just import them, but Camtasia can't take the MOV files and AVI files, so it's kind of a pain. Buggy software, I'll let them know. So this topic is about. This is going to go into my video series about quality. It's called Simplified Approach to Quality Evaluation using sales and customer experience approaches, right? I think that's my cooler name for it. And this one's going to be about, I'm apply this to machine translation or automated translation post-editing. And I'm going to kind of explain. I've been doing this for 3 decades. This post-editing topic. Written a lot about it. I mean, we had a lot of conference presentations on this topic. Written a lot about it. Actually, did a book chapter on it in the Handbook for Translators, Computing and Translation, a Handbook for Translators, and in 2003. And that was kind of my basic. That was my basic thing, is I had to write that book, that chapter, really fast because they asked me at the last minute, and they had to get it in their chapter because the person that was planning to do it decided they didn't want to do it, so I had to kind of write this chapter super fast, and like in a month, and over 3 years, right? We've been waiting, but I've been thinking about, I've done a lot of articles, a lot of proof of concepts of doing machine translation post editing, and that's translation text to text, right? And in a lot of different contexts in my whole career. I mean, you can just go through you got to go through and read my whole section on machine translation post-editing, because you got to read all those articles. Just go through and download each one and just watch them all, right? You got to go through them and do them all, because that's how it works, right? And I've done created a lot of situations and scenarios where I've done it faster and super productive and have given my results on it. And now as I'm looking at it, I'm seeing the kind of the next generation of people that are kind of looking at that. Some didn't even have any read any articles. I didn't even know about any of the things I did 20 years ago, right? They're beginning talking like it's a brand new topic, and this topic has actually already been dealt with heavily now. Now, I did a lot of stuff in the previous generations of software of this, rule-based stuff, stats-based stuff. I actually did some stuff in stat-based stuff too. The neural stuff's kind of a different flavor, and it introduces different types of errors, right? Let's just say it that way. And different types of errors that you have to deal with differently, okay? It's better in some ways, but then the older ones are better in some ways, right? So I think this is it's kind of a flexible thing. But what I want to say here in this subsection of book, or maybe it's going to be a whole chapter in the end, because I might have to do a few videos that cover the different parts of it, right? That the machine translation post-editing, I've actually done, in the past 3 or 4 years, I've done a whole thing on subtitle and caption, video caption, video caption subtitles. I want to go into the difference between them here. I've actually made a video on that. And I spent about 3 or 4 years kind of at different points in time kind of really fine-tuning that, at least where I'm working, and doing it for a lot of the hard of hearing, hearing impaired to hard of hearing, and people that really that depend on content, and the whole COVID moment, kind of with all the thing moved to Zoom and Teams and all that, just the subtitling became a really important thing, right? Or captions, what do you want to call these things? Transcripts. And really ended up doing monolingually. So there was text to text previously, all the things I've done, 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago even. But the past few years I've been working on monolingual post editing for speech to text. And So it's a speech to text now, different speech to text generation, different systems generating the text compared to the text translation. But the same kind of patterns are coming up, right? I'm finding the same kind of patterns because it's creating these systems are generating they're repetitively generating output in the same way, and so what you have to do is find ways to be able to quickly correct it, and not spend wasting time on things you don't need to correct. Same kind of thing, and so what I challenge to do in thinking about this, because now these people that are working on post-editing, they're saying, now we got to find the rules and stuff on this, and it's always been like this. What are the rules, right? And go read my book chapter on it in the post-editing, because I actually talked about a lot of different rule systems, and actually Sharon O'Brien, she did her whole thesis, doctoral thesis, specifically on this topic, right? And this, the important thing is, I think that we're over-engineering, okay? I think that we are over-engineering this. I'm going to say this over and over again. 2009, there were a bunch of posts on LinkedIn in the group on machine translation. I made a bunch of comments in there about quality assessment, quality evaluation, from a software point of view. And when I say a software point of view, I mean a commercial software production thing, okay? I'm not talking about research, okay? Just pure research. I'm talking about actually having commercial sell tools and deal with bug reports. Like I said a couple of minutes ago, Camtaser's got a bunch of bugs, right? So I can't use it. That kind of thing. Dealing with those bugs and getting it so the customers are happy, right? And in this book on the simplified approach, I outlined some ways to simplify it. And I think that we need to run the entire machine translation post-editing concept through this logistics, or through this pipeline of what I'm talking about, because we're making it too complicated, right? We have made it too complicated. I keep saying, and I kept saying, keep it simple, keep it simple, keep basic rules, do it in iterative ways, and it's a mindset. It's not a bunch of rules. It's a mindset. You've got to be in the mindset to be able to do it. And a lot of the rules are actually simple guidelines that you just need to apply. And it's not just a checklist of rules, right? Now, there are checklists, and others have done it. Look at General Motors for what Kurt Godden put in place using the J2450 metric, which had 8 different rules, 8 different kind of categories that people had to go through that. But what happened was, if you're using that from the beginning, you're already making it too complicated. You're working on 8 different categories, and you're trying to classify things in 8 different areas. And that's, as I say in this quality assessment book, that you want to start with 3, then 5, then 7 and 9, and see 8 categories is already up in the 7 to 9. It's already in the high level. It's already in the advanced level stuff. So if you're doing your quality assessment, estimation, quality evaluation on post-edited content using 8 categories, it's way too complicated, right? Already way too complicated. You've got to keep it very simple from the beginning. Very, very simple. Very simple assessment. Good, bad, or neutral. And go, watch through what I'm talking about in this video book about this, starting with the 3, right? And I think if we begin to take this, we need to forget about the blue scores and all this meteor scores and all this stuff. I mean, these are metrics for evaluating prototype research, right? These are things to estimate. This is not about customer quality, right? And people have been saying this for years. We all have been saying it. It doesn't correspond to what the customers want. All the meteor score or blue scores. It doesn't correspond. Okay, it just doesn't. These are statistical, and I mean, they just don't correspond. And I've got in this book, I'm talking about the different kind of things that people and translation companies that have focused on customer-focused quality assessment, and it's finding the kind of the thing together, right, and doing that. But I think what we need to do with this whole machine translation and now this whole MMT and neural based has brought it. It's like we're trusting AI again, just trusting AI and all that. And it's not about that. It's creating different types of errors. And what we need to be able to do is not try to correct too many errors. Okay? And if we want to have what's rapid, what's minimal, and then what's in between, and what's near maximum, what's maximum. And I think that a lot of the cases where I see where the people are talking about full, high quality post editing, they're overdoing it. They're just overdoing it. Because that's not what the customer's asking for. They're doing it because they want to do it, right? Not because the customer asked them to do it. I mean, there are lots of studies about this out there, about customers really, when you do this and put it out there, and the customer's saying, we didn't want this. It's just more than we wanted. I mean, there are lots of, I've seen, I hear this all the time in industry. And a Caterpillar happened, and I've been hearing this on, people doing, in LinkedIn all the time, I hear this, that there's this, well, we need to ask for the user what they want, right? And what kind of quality they expect, and how many corrections they want. And I think this, go back and watch my video on the red pen syndrome in this series, the red pen syndrome. We are overdoing it, right? We're trying to, the post editors are trying to show that they have value. They're making mistakes. We're doing, they're correcting mistakes to show they add value, right? But the whole goal of machine translation post editing from the several decades is not to make too many changes. It's not to make those changes. And that's why I've always told people when I've trained them in post editing, and I've always used myself, you make the least amount of changes you can, and only make changes that have a really serious impact. And one of the things I'll say here is it's the goal of MT post editing is to make it so people don't laugh. Okay, it's not about perfection. Perfection is they're really not the appropriate project. It's not laying for perfection. It's making it so people don't laugh. So you don't have vulgar words. You don't have those insults in there, right? Or you don't want things that people are you don't want beeps, right? Beep, 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 beep. That kind of stuff. Those words you don't want in there, right? You want it so it's understandable. And if it's understandable, people are going to like it. If it's not understandable, people aren't going to like it. And if we come at that point of view, then we're going to be able to deal with the rule-based stuff, and the example-based stuff, and the statistical-based stuff, and the neural-based stuff, and the multi-engine-based stuff, and the knowledge-based stuff. We'll be able to answer these by just doing the minimal amount of work. And then deciding if you want to have it at stages, go it farther, right? Take it farther. But start with the minimal stuff, right? And make sure that minimal stuff corresponds to what customers ask for. Know what your customer wants. Know thy customer. This is really key, right? So this is kind of the starter video of this topic. I'm sure I'll have some more topics things to talk about it on. But I think that we need to recalibrate here. I think we need to really recalibrate on what quality assessment is and quality evaluation is. It's not about edit distance, okay? That's not what it is. Word edit distance is not the answer. It's how least amount of main changes you can make, okay? For it to correspond with what the customer wants. And to train the system to do it up front so you don't have to make any more changes, right? That's the key. And then be careful in evaluating things and looking at patterns. I mean, Chris Hogan and I did the whole thing on the automatic post editor. We kind of did that Claude in 2000. We investigated this too, but we looked at patterns. But that did not help us look into, at that point in time, how to do the least amount of changes, right? It was just analyzing patterns and how many changes were made based on other people's stuff. But after that, I actually worked on a lot more stuff on how to minimize and to optimize the amount of changes you make. So I'll talk about more into this in some other videos. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a lot of my articles, I'm going to summarize them, and I'm going to do them as little chips. I think this is kind of the overall kind of summary of we're overdoing this, right? Or a lot of us are overdoing it. And I think what I think I'll do is I'll take about our articles and I'll break them down to specific sections to talk more about what the articles I've already dealt with, and kind of introduce more where things are today, because technology changed. But really, it's not about technology here. It's not about technology. Technology has evolved. It's how we use the technology, and the stuff that Hans Krings was doing back in the 1990s, and which I read his book in 2001 or 2002 and did a book review of it, which is, his English version had actually been done 10 years before, but it was the German version. But I actually read the English version of the book as a translation. But the things he were doing, I said we could turn it into software, right? We were software already. We didn't. He was basing stuff on paper, but the thinking out loud protocol and everything. But we can apply this everywhere, right? So all this is totally applicable. So I'll talk more about this here in a bunch of other shorter videos. So that's it. Jeff out for right now.